What's the point of being a professional podcast guy if you don't just get drunk and sleep all the time?
Yeah, this is true.
Ask the Hosts, episode 34. I'm Joe.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Shane.
Hello, chaps. The idea of the show is very simple. You send in your questions to show@askthehost.com and we answer them. The catch is they can be about anything except Linux and open source. Before we get going, just a quick thank you to everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. And remember that patrons get these episodes 2 weeks before everyone else. The first question then. Alex asks, what's your favourite smell?
I've got a weird one, actually. When I was a kid, my mum used to work shifts in a factory. So every other week, I barely saw her. But some nights, occasionally, she'd get home early or I was allowed to stay up late. And she'd come in and give me this big hug. And she had this really distinct smell from the factory. It was kind of like a chemical, kind of metal smell from making factory-made car mirrors. And so it wasn't like a nice smell in like the normal sense, but it meant she came home and I was getting a hug and it was just really, it's attached to really nice memories. But now like maybe once a year, I'll walk past somewhere and catch that exact smell and it just takes me instantly back to being a kid hugging my mum. So really odd one. But yeah, my favorite smell is basically like industrial solvents and parental love, basically.
That is very beautiful. And that's definitely the type of answer that I was hoping to come up with and didn't really. But I do feel like probably like the right answer is probably like home or something like there are actually smells that you don't even notice going on around you that are the things that like it really affects you emotionally. The only thing I could think of was when I'm grinding coffee. So I make coffee for my wife every morning, grinding the beans, and it just smells great. And sometimes when you open the packet of beans, it smells really disgusting. It smells like sick, which is extremely disappointing because sometimes just opening a new pack of beans is pretty good. But I think grinding the beans is the best smell.
Are you getting, what sort of coffee are you getting that smells like sick? I don't think we have the same coffee providers.
I don't know if it's like because they put nitrogen in with it or something. I don't know. I mean, nitrogen obviously doesn't smell, so it won't be that. But
no, I'd echo that as well, actually. I have a morning routine with my two kids where I'm trying to desperately get them out the door, hand them off to my wife who'll take them to school. And then the first thing I do when the chaos is out of the house is I will grind some coffee for myself. And that like that action of grinding and the smell of coffee grinding is like, it just puts me in a zen place like after the last hour and a half of chaos.
I've got a few different ones. I did talk about this on a similar show to this once upon a time. And I guess it's similar to yours, Shane, in that it's a chemically smell. And that is nitrocellulose lacquer, which is what Gibsons smell of, like a brand new Gibson or a new-ish Gibson, a Gibson that's been kept in its case, guitar, smells of this like weird, like vanilla-y chemical smell. And it is, if you just smelled that smell, you'd think it was sort of broadly unpleasant, but I associate it with really nice guitars that I'd always wanted since I was a kid. And when I could finally afford to buy Gibsons, you know, I'd open the case and it would just hit me, this smell. So kind of similar to you for, it's more about the emotional reasons behind it. And there's a smell that I like that is kind of unpleasant, but I do like that smell and I will never ever smell it again, I don't suppose. And that is the smell of walking past a pub before smoking was banned in pubs. Like you walk past a pub now and it's kind of half that smell of like, you know, spilt beer all over the carpet and stuff. But it used to be that with the kind of stale smoke mixed into it. And you just, if you go into a pub, you don't smell it. But walking past a pub, you smell it. And it's almost like this siren call, you know, like, I'll come in to this.
Come smoke and drink.
Yeah, exactly. Smoke and drink and all that. And I will never smell it in the UK again, I don't suppose, unless, I don't know, Reform get in and unban smoking. But yeah, I don't suppose I'll ever smell that one again. But I like lemon. Like, I don't like a lot of strong smells, but if it's going to be a strong smell, then lemon scented stuff tends to be the least offensive. It's kind of a strong smell, but I like it. And so I get like lemon soap, for example.
That smells like toilet cleaner to me. Strong lemon smells just are like this, I'm in a bathroom or urinal place of some sort.
Well, I have been known on many occasions to eat just a lemon like it was an orange. So maybe I'm just weird.
Yeah.
I did once eat a whole lemon meringue pie and I was unable to face eating lemon meringue pie for many years, although I've got past that now, so that's good. I was thinking about cigarette smoke because just very occasionally I get a smell or a taste that takes me straight back to the first time I ever smoked a cigarette or the first time I ever drank beer, where, it really tastes horrible and your palate is like unfamiliar with it. So you don't like it yet, but it's really strong memory for me. So sometimes I'm walking past someone smoking or something like that and it hits me in that way because I don't smoke now. I guess that makes it more likely. It takes me straight back to those early experiences.
That's funny because I used to smoke and don't, and now I hate smoking. And I can't stand when I smell smoke 90 times out of 100. But that 10% of times when I'm just the right amount of drunk and it's just the right distance away. If someone was like smoking standing right next to me, it'd just be horrible. But like if it's, walking past a pub where people are smoking outside and maybe I'm the opposite side of the road and I get just a whiff of it and it triggers that chemical memory of wanting to smoke, I think maybe. And that is like broadly pleasant, just briefly.
Yeah, I get the exact same thing. It's after a meal. And if someone, say, across the table lights up and I smell that, I'm like, oh, this is the perfect moment to have a cigarette. But that's the only, like yourself, Joe, almost all the time it's gross, but just sometimes when the when the nicotine addiction moon comes out, like, oh, it just could be amazing right now.
Exactly.
I have strong memories of opening a packet of Cutter's Choice tobacco. The smell of that's pretty good.
Yeah, Cutter's Choice, I remember that. It's very fragrant, that one.
Yeah, it's smooth and like, why are we doing a pro-smoking podcast?
Don't smoke. It's really bad for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also, for a while, smoked cigars to get off cigarettes. And I was driving through the States and I'd go into cigar shops and they'd have like a smoking room in the back. And the smell of a cigar smoking room as well is really nice. That like stale smoke for like fine cigars is, it's pretty good too.
Furacle asks, dark mode or light? It depends.
It depends for me. I use dark mode or light mode to delineate or separate out different tasks. And I basically use dark mode for stuff I wish I was doing, I'm glad I'm doing, which is basically writing code. And light mode for like editing documents, answering email, looking at the internet, stuff like that. So basically I have a black terminal with Vim in for my code, and then I'm in my happy place. And everything else is white, basically.
Green text?
Not green text, but like fairly bright, whitish, not completely the brightest white, but not as pale as some people like to have like low contrast. So I think I just nod off or just not be able to see it.
Yeah, I think I've always been dark mode before it was cool. And after everything enabled dark mode, I was like, oh, you know what? This has gotten too hip. I'm going to try light mode. And it sucked. I hate light mode everything. I will install plugins to turn everything to dark mode. It's just it's like there's just more light going into your eyes, and for some reason it really bothers me. So I am dark mode all the way.
I saw headlines about a study, so I'm not going to say that it's definitely true, but it was something along the lines of dark mode ends up using more battery on your phone and laptop because you turn the brightness up to compensate for it. So I'm not convinced that dark mode is right for me, let's say. When I'm reading, it has to be just white background, black text. Terminal, I have black background and green text because it has to look like the Matrix, otherwise it's not right. But dark mode is incredibly hard to do well. Mm-hmm. I think when it is done well, it can be good, but if it's done not quite well enough, then it's just horrible and just hurts my eyes.
Yeah, my son has everything in dark mode, and when he tries to get me to help him over his shoulder, I often find I can't focus. I can't quite read it properly. It just all feels wrong, and that's probably just not being used to it. But yeah, I agree. I think often dark mode doesn't look very attractive to me.
I would caveat that with, I suppose, my love of dark mode is my Kindle's in light mode for reading. So you're right, it does. It's harder to read in dark mode, and I also have an e-ink phone, and that's in light mode as well because being e-ink is weird, and having dark mode e-ink would be very weird.
That would be weird. E-ink is the best invention ever, though. So, yeah, obviously it should be just like paper.
For reading, yeah. What, your main phone is e-ink?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a Moodida Compact. It's a small little phone that they run like a lockdown version of Android. But yeah, I think it's a Polish company. It's quite a good phone. As in, it does enough to get you through the day, but you don't enjoy using it, which is kind of exactly what I want. And it's e-ink, so it's not blinding my eyes because I look at laptops all day.
But how do you watch YouTube Shorts?
Yeah, I just have to live a life without that all the time in my pocket.
That's terrible.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. I can use Waze, or I use it for maps and all the messengers and etc. So it's kind of fine. I'd rather just use a laptop for 99% of the things I use a phone for.
Absolutely.
But like, how do you unfold it and watch football in bed?
I read a book.
The phone stays downstairs, well away from bed.
Yeah.
Well, I like to unfold my phone and watch videos in bed because I'm clearly a bad person. All right, a deep one. Hobbs asks, is there any inherent meaning to life in an irrational world devoid of purpose?
It's kind of answered the question in the question there.
Yeah, no is the obvious answer.
Yeah, no. Sorry, Hobbs.
Yeah. And therefore you have to make your own meaning.
Yeah.
Just do what you want and be nice to other people. And that's the meaning of life. Like, in this vast universe where there happened to be a chemical reaction which turned out to be a catalyst for itself, which then evolved into very basic life, slightly less basic life, proper multicellular, all the rest of it, until you get us. Like, it just happened. And the universe could then start contemplating itself. And that to me is like enough. That's enough meaning. Like, the universe became conscious in one tiny little place at least. And that's cool, but it doesn't mean anything. And so, fuck it. Like, just do what you want and be nice to each other.
I think there is a meaning to life. Like, I feel incredibly uncertain about all this stuff, but I think that, like, all people are, like, beautiful and amazing, and love is, like, this incredible thing. And sometimes I think that there's, like, a loving presence in the universe that is real.
What you're thinking about there is chemical reactions in your brain.
Thanks, Joe. It was a lovely moment in Sentiment Andy.
And so I've gone through various phases, believing and not believing that, and come to the point where it just turns out that I do think that. I do think there's something magical, if you want to call it that.
Well, if that makes you happy, cool.
Yeah.
Let that be your meaning. Doesn't make it true, but that's fine. You know, knock yourself out. Be happy.
Yeah. These days, it's much closer to making me happy than it used to when I was younger. Put it that way.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make me happy to think about the universe and think that there is literally no point to any of it. It's all just an accident of evolution and stuff. And that's fine. I kind of catch myself thinking about it. And then I remember, oh, I've got to record in a couple of minutes, or I've got to get that edited, or, you know, I've got to get on with my real life. I've got to pay that bill. And then I just don't think about it too much. I think the temptation is to think about it at night, especially when it's nice weather and you can be outside at night and look up at the stars and contemplate the universe and everything. But I don't think it really ultimately does you any good to start thinking about this kind of really deep stuff because, well, I mean, unless you believe in irrational bullshit, sorry, Andy, but, you know, if you start really trying to rationalize it, nothing good comes of that, I don't think, ultimately.
I tell you something that I found out a little while ago. Right? So I used to have kind of quite straightforward beliefs in God and stuff. And there's a lot of misery from my childhood linked to that, which you know, really hurts me still as an adult. But something that happened to me a while ago was that I started to like genuinely contemplate the idea that there was absolutely nothing at all. And I started thinking about, well, what would I do in my life if that were the case? And in particular, like in terms of doing right and doing wrong, how would it change how I thought about what was right and what was wrong if there was just nothing? And it really helped. It really helped me separate out the bad bits of my religious background that were only there because someone told me from the good bits that were about, you know, trying to do the right thing and trying to judge for yourself what's right and what's wrong. And so like staring down the barrel of there's absolutely nothing, I don't know if it made me a better person or I think it really helped.
I feel like it made me a better person because I was brought up not massively religious, but I was brought up to basically believe that there was a God. And then when I started to read books and stuff about it and come to the conclusion that there was no God and that there was no meaning, it was very freeing in a way. And I've talked to religious people who ask the question of like, well, if you don't believe in God, how come you don't do X, Y, and Z terrible thing. And it's like, well, because I don't want to do that. Like, if the only thing stopping you doing that is religion, then you're an asshole. And I believe in karma, but not in some weird supernatural sense. I believe in it in the, like, if you do good things for people, then they'll do a good thing for another person, and then eventually it'll come back to you, sort of thing.
As you might guess from my accent, I was raised very Catholic and in a very religious household. And I probably went through maybe a very similar progression as yourself, Andy. But I think I came out of it with a very different outcome. And it's kind of funny, when I stopped believing in religion, there was definitely a hole in my life that I was trying to fill with something else. And I think I kind of got to where Joe is, where I'm kind of just okay with that absence of belief in anything bigger, to the point where I kind of... Have either of you watched the first season of True Detective?
No.
Yes.
So there is a character in that called Rust Cole, I think his name is.
All right.
Yeah, played by Matthew McConaughey. Excellent show, excellent character. Recommend it to everyone. This character is very negative on humanity in general, as we were just an awful mistake. And at the moment, I'm actually reading the book that this character is based on. It's by a guy named Thomas Ligotti. He's a horror writer, but he's written something called The Conspiracy Against the Human Race. And what the premise is that all philosophy effectively is all coming from a position of human consciousness was a good thing. And he's now trying to find these philosophers out there who are like, do you know what, maybe it wasn't a good thing. Maybe this is a horrible accident. All of humanity and all of consciousness was this horror-inducing, horrible event that happened, which is kind of an interesting premise. But that's where what's what I'm reading right now. So this might color like my views on meaning a little, but I don't go that far. But I would say that, like, I kind of agree with Joe, which is like, I don't think that there is any meaning from a bigger cosmic perspective. Like, in the same way that tides don't have a meaning, being human is just a happy accident, we can call it. And like, for me, the meaning that I still kind of hold to each day is much more like local and like relational and present. So it's kind of like, I don't think the universe has any purpose, but I think our experience does. So meaning isn't something we discover out there or is based on something external. It's something we make by being like present long enough to notice we're here. So I like that, Joe. Those moments where you're like outside on a lovely day, just being present, like that is as close to meaning as I think I can get as well. That feeling you get, I guess.
The whole experience of being human is so bittersweet. It's so tragic and beautiful. And most of the time, I just feel incredibly grateful that I get to experience all of that.
Well, I hate to quote Freddie Mercury at you, but sometimes I wish I'd never been born at all.
I'm going to have that stuck in my head for the next week. Thank you, Joe.